of the main questions we get and one of the main points of confusion is lots of different terminology in the office market. There's lots of different jargon in this market, which when I entered the market, I found pretty confusing. If you are a first-time office searcher or your boss has asked you to go look for an office, it can be a pretty confusing thing to try and navigate and to try and figure out what is the right thing for you. And so what I wanted to talk about is a couple of different terms that come up quite frequently that will help you navigate that. The four terms I'm going to talk about today are leased offices, managed offices, serviced offices, flexible offices. Starting with leased offices. Typically, a leased office is an office that you're taking on typically a long-term contract. So I'd say in a country like in the UK or in a city like London, you're typically looking at a minimum term of 3 years, typically 5, 7 to 10 years. That's how much you're looking to commit for. What you will get in that lease is fundamentally an empty box. It's going to be up to you as a company to figure out how you're going to fit that out. So you need to do sort of the design and you need to do the fit out, you need to sort out the furniture, everything like that. And then also how to maintain and operate that space over time as well. So figuring out your utilities, figuring out whether you have an office manager, how you stock the fridge, whatever that is. So those are two things that you need to figure out yourself. And really when you're talking about a leased office, it's that empty box fundamentally, but it's all yours. You can do whatever you want with it. And that typically has been the main way that companies have rented offices all the way up to very, very recently. That brings me on to serviced offices. And so serviced offices are really the sort of offices that you would get in brands such as a WeWork or a Regus or the Office Group or Fora. Typically buildings with multiple floors. One floor will probably have a bunch of hot desking and co-working space, and that's either for people who have co-working hot desking memberships or for members of that brand to go and access. The rest of the floors will typically be individual office units, all the way from a 2-person unit up to a 200-person unit. And really, when you talk about a serviced office, what you're getting is you're getting that unit. Typically, that unit will be fitted out with most of the things that you need. It will have desks, it will have chairs, it may have whiteboards, it may have other equipment. It will definitely have sort of your internet access already, plug and play. Around that building is where you're getting the services of that building. So, you will have a communal kitchen that will be continually stocked. You will essentially have full-on maintenance where the bathrooms and communal areas are always cleaned. You may have a bunch of community programs going on, such as yoga classes or educational workshops going on in the afternoons. And really what you're buying there is that you're buying access to that unit. You're also buying access to the services within that building and maybe, buildings that sit within that brand. The key difference there also is the length of term. So typically 1-year contracts there, sometimes there may be a 6-month break, sometimes you may be able to get a much shorter contract there. The shortest really are typically monthly rolling contracts in a serviced office. The next term would be managed offices. So managed offices are really a hybrid of a leased office and a serviced office. So what you're doing there is that you're basically saying, look, I don't want to be in a serviced office because I don't have enough control over the environment. I want to fit my space out so it looks a certain way. I want this sort of furniture, this sort of aesthetic. But I also don't want a leased office because I don't want to do all of that work myself because I don't have anyone on a team. I don't really know how to do it. So a managed office really would be you taking on a leased office. Typically, the contracts can be similar or can be a little bit shorter. So I'd say typically 3 years or something like that. And you would essentially have a managed services provider who would do all of the things for you, and it would be up to you to define what services that you want and what does the space look like. So how much communal area do you want? How much office space do you want? Call booths, what sort of services do you want for your employees? Do you want sort of the free lunches? Do you want the fridge to be stocked the entire time? It's up to you to figure out what services are coming into that space. And so you've got the best of both worlds with respect to the services from the serviced offices and also your own space. But what comes with that is that longer term. Then we get to the term called flexible office space. This is really a bit of a catch-all. I'd say that flexible office space includes everything that we've talked about except for leased offices. So the reason for that is that fundamentally you are not committing to a long-term lease, you're not locked into that. And so therefore you have the flexibility to increase the size of your space, to shrink it, to get out of it, to move to a new building. You have a lot of flexibility in that contract. And so flexible offices is really a catch-all term for anything that's not a leased office. So hopefully when you're searching for the next space for your company, that sort of helps you figure out what you should be and what you shouldn't be looking at. And look, if you need more help, we've got an entire team of people who are experts in this sector. Very, very happy to speak to you on live chat, speak to you via email or speak to you on the phone. Hubble ourselves, we specialize in anything flexible office. We don't really do leased offices, although we can help you figure that out if you need to. But really anything that's flexible, you'll find on the platform, all the way from an office for 3 years on a managed basis, down to a meeting room for an hour. We've got everything across that spectrum. So please have a look and please come and have a chat to our team.